What is up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful weekend so far. So I had a very busy week over working on the flip over in Mesa. I'm super excited to keep you guys updated on the progress for that. So I'm only able to film one video Saturday afternoon for me, Saturday morning actually, 11 o'clock in the morning right now. Today's video is going to be talking about my top 5 worst mistakes that I've made as a real estate investor, as a landlord, and as a home buyer. So I hope this video is going to be able to help you guys out moving forward, being proactive with purchasing your first home. Maybe it's your second home, maybe it's your first rental property, maybe you're going to be a landlord for the first time. I hope this video is able to help you guys out. So sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's jump into my top 5 worst mistakes. My first mistake that I've ever made was not buying for location. I'm sure you guys have heard all the time, location, location, location. Location is everything. That's why places in Southern California are sometimes 5 times the price as somewhere else in the United States because it's a sought after location. People want to live there. It's the same concept anywhere you live, any city you live in. You generally want to focus on a location that you want to personally live. I'm talking about more so from a landlord or a rental property perspective. My rule of thumb is you don't want to buy a property or a rental property that you yourself don't want to live in. You yourself don't want to live in that specific city, suburb, subdivision, whatnot. So that's actually my first mistake. When I bought my first 2 properties, actually, I kind of broke my own rule where it's somewhere that I necessarily wouldn't want to live or don't want to live. By the way, I'll take a step back. I own 3 rental properties. I bought my first one about 2 years ago, 2019, and then I bought my second properties in 2020, and then about midway through the year 2020 as well. So I have 2 rental properties over in Phoenix, Arizona, which is about an hour drive. Those are the 2 rental properties where I'm not a huge fan of the location. I wish that I would have taken a step back, learned the area a little bit more. This was a while back before I actually moved out here, before I really took any trips out to Arizona. I kind of just went based on the first house that I saw, and I wanted a student rental. So I went to the first college that had a decent priced house around it. Yes, it's working out great right now. Yes, there's potential for that specific college to expand and buy me out down the road. But at the same time, I wish I maybe would have bought a couple rental properties out here in the East Valley, which I'm a lot more familiar with, which I know is going to appreciate a lot more. It's a lot more of a family area, but it is what it is. So focus on location, but make sure it's also a good deal as well. You don't want to completely overpay just because it's the perfect location. You want to make sure you're still getting a good deal on it. You're going to have upside equity in it. You're going to have appreciation on the property, and it's an area that you want to live in yourself. The second mistake that I made: inspect properties thoroughly. This not only means before you actually put an offer in on the property when you first ever walk it, but this also means if you are in escrow on a property, meaning that you already have a contract in place and you're about to close on it, it's about to be your property, there's something called a pre-closing walkthrough, which is generally done the day before you close on it. This pre-closing walkthrough basically has a couple purposes. One is to make sure the premises are in the same condition that it was when you first walked the property before you closed, before escrow, excuse me. And the second thing is, if you did request repairs from the seller, that they actually did the repairs that they said they did. I actually got screwed on this because I had a list of probably about $3,000 of repairs that I wanted, or that I had on my BINSR, which is an inspection report that I had basically told the seller to take care of, and that's basically an obligation for the seller to do in order to close on the property. Come to find out, my pre-closing walkthrough, I didn't do it thorough enough, and a lot of the problems that I wanted them to fix, they actually just hid. I found out that they didn't actually cure the problems or remedy the problems because 4 months later my tenant reached out to me. They're like, the oven's attached to an extension cord. I don't think that's up to code, blah blah blah, which is something that I told them to do previously before I closed on it, but I didn't see it. I didn't look close enough on it, so that's my mistake. So for you guys, make sure you inspect it thoroughly. You're gonna get an inspection anyways, but you just want to make sure everything that you requested from the seller to do before closing, it's done. If you catch a mistake in the pre-closing walkthrough, you can extend closing, you can push closing back, you can delay it until they remedy the problem. So inspect thoroughly, not only before you put an offer on the property, but on your pre-closing walkthrough as well. Very, very important, and can save you a lot of stress, a lot of headaches, and a lot of money as well. The third mistake Shop lenders and agents. I didn't really have a problem with my specific agent. It's more so shopping lenders. On my first property specifically, I just went with a family friend of mine, and I feel like I got screwed on my interest rate big time. If I had shopped around a little bit more, if I had bounced interest rates from one broker to another, I'm sure I could have gotten a way more competitive rate. I had to buy down my interest rate to, I think, a mediocre interest rate as is. I had to pay $5,000 to buy down my rate to that mediocre interest rate, which is a lot of money up front, and I still don't have an insane interest rate. So that's something that you want to really focus on. Shop around, guys. Depending on how big your loan is, if shopping around and even getting a 0.5% or 1% lower can save you $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 over the span of your loan if you really think about it. So it's definitely something that you want to focus on up front. Same thing with agents. There's a percentage, I think it was like 70 or 80% of home buyers go with the very first agent that they talk to. It may not be a bad thing. You may know someone, you may trust someone, but I would make sure before you sign any contracts with them that they are the agent you want to work with, that you trust them, that you want to work with them, because the last thing you want to do is get stuck with an agent, especially when you're trying to sell your home, with an agent that is not going to have your best interests in mind, that is not going to work super hard. The house that I'm closing on in 2 days for one of my clients, they were previously with a real estate agent. She said the agent was the absolute worst, wasn't responding to them, didn't really know what they were doing, and I was able to find them a house within the first 2 weeks of looking, and we're closing on it in a couple days from now. So it just goes to show, make sure you have an agent that is willing to work hard, that is going to be in your best interest as well, that they're not going to screw you over, that they're not just trying to get you to buy a random house just because they want their commission check. You want to make sure that you trust this agent, that you can talk to them. My client right now, like we're talking pretty much every single day. She can ask me questions on the weekend. I don't care. I want to help her. I know what it's like to go and buy your first property, and having an agent that you know that you can trust and that you know you can text and ask any questions to is super, super helpful. Closing on a house is one of the most stressful things you can do, and just having an agent that is going to be able to walk you along every step of the way is very, very important for just like your sanity throughout the whole process. By the way, I'm a licensed real estate agent in Arizona. If you guys want to work with me, my email is down below. The fourth thing, this is more so for landlords or rental properties, screen your tenants. I've had problems at my first 2 rental properties. Yes, these are student rentals, so they are going to have a lot more problems than if I were to have a family rental like my third one is. Screening tenants though is going to save you a lot of stress, most likely a lot of money in the long term. A lot of my student rentals, a lot of these people that move into them are first time renters or first time leasers because they are so young, they're still in school, they either lived on campus or they're coming straight from their parents' house, so they're not too familiar with the rules. They don't know like what a lease term is and the consequences of it. It has been a little bit more difficult due to COVID. My second rental property I got in February, which is pretty much the exact start of the shutdown, so that has been extremely difficult with a couple of my tenants losing their jobs. I've been, I guess you can say, somewhat lucky. I've had a couple tenants move out just abruptly, like literally I had one move out last week and she told me about 2 weeks ago that she was moving out, that she couldn't afford rent. But I'd much rather have someone pick up their stuff, clean the room, and leave rather than stay at the house, not pay me rent, and cause more problems. So I've actually been really lucky in that aspect. 2 of my 8 bedrooms are vacant right now. I have someone supposed to move in next week, and then I have someone actually touring the property today for that last bedroom. So hopefully it'll get filled up. This is actually my first month where I'm actually gonna be pretty much break even on cash flow for that specific property. Lucky enough, I have a lot of cash reserves in both of those properties because of the cash flow is super good with those student rentals. But just because cash flow is good, this actually ties back to the location aspect, or the first mistake that I made. Just because a specific location has better cash flow doesn't necessarily make it a better rental property. I'd much rather have a nice family rental here in Gilbert area where I know it's going to appreciate, where I know I'm not going to have a lot of stress, where I know I'm going to have really good tenants, as opposed to my cash flowing student rentals that, yes, are cash flowing me pretty much 3 times the money as my family rental, my third rental property over in Gilbert, but it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of headache, and it's not gonna appreciate as much as my house over in Gilbert. So just because cash flow is really high doesn't make it the #1 incentive when buying a rental property. You really wanna focus on a lot of aspects in terms of appreciation, what type of tenants you're gonna get in there, the type of neighborhood it is. The 5th thing is don't rush into a house. If you guys are not ready to buy a house, don't feel obligated to. Just because you find a great deal in a subpar location doesn't mean that you have to buy it. And also vice versa. If you find the perfect location but a house is extremely overpriced, you don't really want to overpay for a house. It depends on your financial situation. If this is a house that you're going to live in for the rest of your life and it's a one-time opportunity that you're going to miss if you don't overbid on the house, then maybe that's a different story. But if this is your first time house, don't go for your dream house right away. Work your way up. You can afford a cheaper house, live in there for a couple years, refinance it, pull out money, or just buy another house. Keep doing that. Work your way up to your dream house. You don't have to rush into a super expensive house right off the bat. You can work your way up. I have 3 rental properties. I have 3 properties right now, and none of these are my dream house. I'm not even close to that. And my next property that I'm looking at is not my dream house as well. I know that it's gonna take time. I know it's gonna be a process. So just take your time on it. I learned not to rush into it, mainly from my second rental property. It was in the same location as my first one. I wish I would have let my first rental property season a little bit, so I kind of could have understood and seen all the mistakes and all the stress that one caused me, because if I had realized all that, I probably wouldn't have bought that second rental property down the street from it. I would have saved my money, waited for a better opportunity in a nicer area, and bought there. I still love being a landlord. It's absolutely incredible to have that monthly cash flow, to have an appreciating asset every single month pay me, but these are just some of the mistakes that I've made, and I hope they are able to help you guys out. As always, I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the Arizona area, where I focus on cash producing rental investment properties. I also focus on family rentals. So if you guys are interested in buying or selling in the Arizona area, all my information is down below. I love to represent you guys. I love to work with you guys. I'll see you in the next video. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, comment down below as well, and be sure to drop a like. It really helps the algorithms out. I think we're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so I thank you guys for following my journey for the last 6 months here. The next update will probably be an update on the Mesa flip. I'm super excited for that. I'll see you guys then.